What's up, everybody? Shawn here with another Live to Roll live. We're back this week talking about some pain management, especially long term chronic pain. We got our friend Tommy here, so we'll get into some introductions and get on to the show. I am Shawn, I'm a
Bobby.
C5. What's
Oh, sorry. I thought you were done. Shawn, go ahead.
No, man, I
I was
was just
gonna
gonna
say,
do my.
no,
I was
do
gonna.
your
No,
thing.
you're good.
Toss it to Bobby
And
first,
you're on
though.
it today. You're
All
on it,
right,
Tom.
Yeah.
let's. All right, then. Yeah, I'm a C5, C6 quad, and I don't know my Asia fanciness. So yeah, Bobby, you go, and then Tom can give his fancy.
Yeah. I'm like Sean. I don't know my fancy. Same thing. C5, C6. 33-year pose from a bicycle accident living here in Huntington Beach, California. All right, Tom, you can do it now.
And I'm sorry, Shawn. I did not mean to steal your thunder. I just wanted to make sure I got to introduce Tommy, so I wanted it to come to me last today instead of going second. So that was my bad, dude. Shawn, our
Uh,
illustrious literal creator and and great host and producer, definitely didn't mean to steal your thunder, man. But what's up, everybody? I'm Tom Conaway. I'm a C6B quadriplegic. I've been paralyzed for 25 years. And yeah, super excited to talk about not really fun topic, but an important one nonetheless. And now, enough about us. We got an amazing guest today, one of my favorite people in the whole world. He's a world famous, world renowned artist. He's usually gracing the likes of, other famous people like Joaquin Phoenix and Ringo Starr, like this, the upper echelon. But he's an amazing friend to us, to the SCI community down here in Southern California, and is a real incredible example of someone who's done well and done really not just well, but incredible in their success and in their fire to live life. Tommy, thank you so much for joining us today. You mind introducing yourself?
Tom, thanks for the introduction. Yeah, I'm Tommy, and 37 years post, 1985, March 10th, 1985. I had a mountain biking accident pretty close to the house here, right here, San Fernando Valley, and I've been really blessed. I did go to Northridge Hospital where I spent 6 months in the hospital. Back in the days, you could get quite a bit of rehab. You got pretty tied into the disabled community, and luckily I got involved with the disabled community right away, and stayed involved and got to meet Bobby and Shawn and everybody when they first got injured. So that was kind of a plus. But anyway, just staying active, and I've been doing my art for the last 20 years. But prior to that, I was doing um, wheelchair sales and medical sales and wheelchair van sales. That's my service dog behind me making all that noise.
No worries. We love our puppies, and they can make all
yeah,
the noise they want. And Tommy's also really active in the adaptive rec portion of the SCI community too. He's done a lot with water skiing and getting out there and helping develop some of the technology that we use to water ski.
yeah. He's the
If
one that
I'm
pretty much
not
developed
incorrect.
the sit C that USARC uses that I love and use.
Yeah,
And I was
it's
so mad that
basically
they didn't show me the first couple times I went up there.
And basically, what we're talking about is it's a sit ski that's kind of more geared for quads, and it has two outriggers on the side of the sit ski just to provide a little bit
Oh,
more stability in the water.
Yeah,
that's
that's
not
not
even
the
the
one.
part that he really designed. He redesigned like
Okay.
the cage part where it clips to make it more like adaptable for the rider, so you have more control even as a quad. Like it actually makes it so like with minimal like head movements, you can control that ski pretty well. And that was pretty much because of I think Tommy's developments and like basically just trial and error of like trying to clip and like make different cage setups on the front. So
That's pretty amazing. Yeah, I've haven't gotten a chance to do the water skiing, but it's really something I do want to try to do next
it's
summer
so
when you
fun,
start
dude.
potentially.
Tommy,
Uh,
many years, moons ago, you took me out. It was on one of your surfboards, if I'm not mistaken. Do you still have
Yes.
that one? Is that
Oh
the
yeah.
design, the surfboard and all
Yeah.
that?
Is the design of the surfboard, and it is the main thing is the cage is the difference is because most quad skis the rope's attached to the nose of the ski, which is down in front of the ski and down low. On mine, it attaches to the middle of the ski in the cage, which is higher up off the lift, kind of between your knees, and you've also got handles on the sides that you can tuck your wrist under to pull your body side to side, or like Shawn said, you can literally use your head to tilt this ski and it will
Yeah,
turn.
Well, I mean,
because
you
the
do.
look.
I definitely use the hooks too. Like I get my hands in there, and I'm just like, that's how I just keep everything really tight and stable, and just yeah, my little those little. But when you do have to get the arms and pull sometimes when you if you're trying to mess with the wake and you kind of get some choppiness, like and you got to correct.
That's
Like
yeah, that's what I
it's fun,
noticed. You
man.
have
I
to
honestly love it.
you're tired when you're riding that wake and you're like trying to get over it, trying to get back over it, and you're just like you get done water skiing, and you're like, oh, my arms are stuck. you know?
Yeah, your arms are burning for sure.
Yeah.
The
Yeah, no,
good
it's fun
burn
though.
though. Uh,
Yeah, so let's talk about some of that. Well, maybe not the good burn, but the bad burns and different other pains and other stuff we do deal with. Um,
we should probably, I guess, maybe start with: do we deal with pain? Do we deal with chronic pain? Do we deal with irregular pain? And kind of just
and
maybe
what
go
type of
around.
pain too? Like if you have
Yeah.
nerve pain or like joint pain, aches, things like that, because it's all different and we all have different stuff. So
One thing that, why this topic is kind of poignant now, winter is coming, or winter is here, and cool weather always ramps up, the pain factor for me, just with like the tightness and the stiffness that comes along with that. Sorry for freezing on you guys. I don't know what's up with my stupid internet. But let's send it on over to our guest, Tommy. Being a quad for 37 years, I think I know the answer, but do you deal with pain every once in a while chronically? Is it a
I
struggle for
do.
you?
I mean, I've had some nerve pain since the onset of my injury, but
Uh huh.
pretty tolerable just on the right side of my arm. I mean, I could always tolerate that with just a little bit of ice and whatnot. But
Yeah.
I've had two car accidents in the last 12, 13 years, which I
Okay.
re-injured my
Wow.
shoulder and my neck a little bit. And that caused a lot of physical pain, nerve pain, burning pain, stuff like that. Um,
Yeah.
enough so that I've tried every type of therapy, acupuncture, I mean, every medication, anything out there. And one of the better ones I found for a short period of time or a different period of time is prolotherapy, which is dextrose, sugar water injections in the side of the neck, releasing putting some flotation around the nerves. Um,
interesting.
the doctor that actually does that therapy for me is Dr. Andrew Koken, who's the doctor that put my halo on 37 years ago. He was so
Oh
tired
wow.
of seeing people getting into so many narcotics and things like that to deal with pain and just make him so lethargic that he was looking for alternative medicines. And some of the first things he started with was bee pollen injections and bee venom and stuff like that. So pretty interesting stuff. But yeah, it's. I mean, I was blessed, because my buddy Chris, all you guys knew Chris Volker. I mean, he dealt with severe chronic pain since day one. So
Yeah.
I mean, he had 37 straight years of pain, which I thought
Well,
was fairly.
I've heard of steroid injections and things like that to help with inflammation and maybe like some of that nerve desensitization. I have not heard of the sugar water
Yeah,
saline,
I've never heard of that either.
um,
That's
but it's kind of interesting. I mean, we're always looking for alternatives and options for people. Especially it's hard to get away from pharmaceuticals nowadays when it comes to pain
Right.
management. It seems to be the go-to non-traditional. Like my mom's very into like Eastern traditional Chinese medicine and stuff like that. There's just lots of ways to treat inflammation and overuse and stuff like that that doesn't always lend to narcotics, because just like what you said, there's several things that come up with use of any kind of opioid. Just one, like dependency, and it's kind of easy to overuse. Now it's not always the situation, but I don't know, the side effects can be gnarly too, in that they can be make you lethargic, make you sleepy. I'd even go as far to say is like just simply demotivating, in that
yeah.
it makes it hard to get up and do the shit that we all got to do, in our day to day life. Generally, it can make hard because fatigue and energy is something we struggle with without the drugs, and something that kind of stacks that on top. Um, can be really hard and make doing the rest of the stuff, not as realistic. Um, again,
Also, Tommy,
go
or
ahead, Bobby.
don't forget about it's also can affect your bowels, your
That's what I was
liver,
gonna mention.
needs. So, I mean, long term use of that stuff is definitely, can affect that in long term. So, yeah, and while it's good in the short term, long term, you might want to always get those checked out once a year, every 6 months, if you are using it. Nothing wrong with it if that's worked for you. But also, if it works for you, also look into the other alternatives if you have those problems.
Right. Try everything
Yeah.
else first.
And we're also, unfortunately, as quads and pairs, and like anybody with SCI, could potentially be, suffering from this. Is that there's different kinds of pain that we end up dealing with. One is neuropathy, which is nerve pain related to our injury, in that the nerves are making connections, but imperfect ones, and maybe some of this sensory information is going through, but the brain doesn't know how to read or process that information because it's not meaningful connection, and that can translate to discomfort. Sometimes, I mean, I know paras very often have to do like burning sensations and just really serious discomforting feelings below or around their level of injury. Similar with quads. I know it's less common with quads, but spasticity and neuropathy related to spasticity and sensitivity is a real thing that I think anybody with SCI could potentially deal with. And then there's the overuse and wear and tear that comes along with being in a chair and using your body in a non-standard way that an ambulatory person wouldn't have to worry about, in that we use our arms and our shoulders to overcompensate for our legs. We're lifting our whole bodies, we're propelling ourselves in our chairs, doing things that are wearing down the shoulders and putting more use on these extremities than they're generally intended for. And with that comes wear and tear and pain associated with that. I get terrible, terrible inflammation, from like the tearing and, the worn outness of my tendons and stuff in my wrists, in my back, in my neck, in my shoulders, pretty much everywhere I function, because I've been overusing them for, a quarter of a century
But
in ways that, go
also
ahead.
might not be overused, Tom. But a lot of times too, it can be posture. It can be our bodies weren't meant to sit. So
Exactly.
sitting on a chair in a certain position, how many 12 hours a day, 15 hours a day, it can do damage if your cushion isn't just set up just right. So your hips are out of place, then it's going to throw your back out of place, then it's going to throw your shoulders out of, and then your neck, and then you're dealing with all this musculoskeletal pain that is.
And so narcos and other, forms like opioids and stuff, those are generally intended for like muscles, yeah, skeletal like pain, associated with what we just talked about. Then there's other forms of medication that can be used for neuropathy, like gabapentin. And I don't know, I'm sure you guys can name some other drugs like Lyrica and things like that that are used for neuropathy.
Gabapentin's the main one I know, or most people that I know take.
And then baclofen is used for spasticity and controlling, nerve sensitivity in that regard. Um, so we're talking about a lot of different stuff, a lot of different sources for discomfort, and a lot of different ways to tackle it. Those are just the pharmaceutical methods associated with that. I would, reckon to say that some of the forms of pain management that we might talk about are probably applicable to both, and that it's not so much try to treat the pain at the source, but help you endure and live with it and not let it take too much away from your daily life and your normal activities. But could potentially be beneficial for the neuropathy and the skeletal muscular stuff. But that being said, identifying what's causing you discomfort and pain is kind of the first journey down that road. It's like realizing, hey, I'm dealing with discomfort. It's affecting me to the point where, it's making my normal activities hard. Maybe it's affecting your mental health. It's affecting your ability to go out, function day to day. And then you got to figure out what it is and what's causing it. You guys maybe want to speak on that a little bit? I know we're all kind of a little like older. We've been aging with our disabilities, and a lot comes with that. But Tommy, what kind of pain do you deal with regularly?
Mine's mainly the nerve pain in the neck and the right shoulder. You know,
Okay,
Yeah, that's it.
but a lot
and
of dude,
oh, go ahead.
I mean, I used to be able to sleep 4 hours on each side. I'm literally down to 1 hour on my left side. Then I sit up straight for an hour, back to my left side for an hour. I can't sleep on my right shoulder at all anymore. So it's kind of brutal,
Wow.
but it's, I modified and I adapt, and I've got no choice. And then I do have a tilt in my chair, so thank God I am able to get one or two naps in, 15, 20-minute quick naps a day in the
Yeah.
chair, which, I mean, I'll be honest, sometimes the chair is more comfortable than the bed at times. And I've got a super, super soft Tempur-Pedic mattress. I mean, thank God for that because I've never had a pressure sore, so
Yeah.
I've been pretty lucky that way. But
I spend a lot of time in my chair too, and that's like always kind of my go-to response is like I'm more comfortable in my chair. It's like yeah, I get up at 4 o'clock in the morning after only being in bed for 3 or 4 hours, but I'm gonna get more rest and be more comfortable in my chair for the rest of that time versus if I
right.
stay in bed and I'm like fighting my coccyx and my legs spasming and just like going crazy every couple minutes trying to get comfortable. Um, and that's hard. So. I mean, outside of the injections, which how often do you get those, and how long are they effective?
I mean, they typically last close to 4 to 5 weeks. Sometimes you get great results, sometimes iffy. But
Yeah.
I mean, the one thing was one time I got results that were like 98%, where I mean, I was almost pain free, and I had never been pain free in my life. And I
Wow.
thought, oh shit. So at one point, I was kind of chasing that for a minute there.
Yeah.
But, I mean, I mean, every night I put an ice pack behind my right scapula, behind my right elbow, and my right wrist every time I'm in bed, whether I'm on my back or on my side, the whole bed. I mean,
Yeah.
I do use a lot of ice. I use some heat, but it seems like ice works better.
Ice
You
is
know,
way better than heat.
yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's
I've got
crazy. And as a quadriplegic, I always think of ice as
I know. I'm like,
unless
damn, I sound so cold right
if
now.
yeah, if it's 110, maybe I might use ice. But other than that, like when anybody suggests like, hey, put some ice on your shoulder, I'm like, you kidding me? For a quad, that's like a killer. But I'm sure if you have that much pain, that's how much you
Yeah.
weigh your option. You're like, I'd rather have the pain of the cold than the pain of what's going on inside you.
Well,
Oh yeah.
a big trigger for the nerve pain is generally inflammation in the
Yeah, and
area,
cold will help
and
with that.
cold will help reduce the inflammation. So if you're looking for kind of more I think longer term relief, like cooling and getting down that inflammation is probably like your better bet. I'm similar with you guys though, like cold is the enemy to me most of the time, and I'm more likely to put like a heat pillow on myself versus like a cold pack. Um, but I'll take
Trust
some
me, I've got
relief.
the heater on the left side of my bed blaring while I've got the ice on the right side of my
Yeah,
body.
yeah,
I got the heat
Nice.
blasting on my face so I can feel. I've got to be able to feel it on my skin where I can feel. I've got to
yeah.
be able to feel that warm heat. And I mean,
I
I've got shit, a t-shirt, a hoodie, and a jacket on right now, and I've got the heater in the house up to about 72, 74 at least.
yeah. Um, I take Aleve from time to time, which is just like sodium naproxen, which is just like an anti-inflammatory. It seems to help with my like muscular skeletal pain, like my wrist pain, my shoulder pain, my neck pain that tends to hit me from time to time. And it's usually centered around overuse. Sometimes I'll sleep funny or I'll, be sitting funny and I'll, start to hurt, for some reason. But usually most of my pain, and it's generally my wrist, is just from grabbing and yanking and getting dressed and doing my care and just doing my life, living my life. But that cannabis is probably my other main go-to in terms of like pain relief and anti-inflammatory as well. Because if anybody doesn't know the medicinal benefits of cannabis, one of them is acts as an anti-inflammatory, and I found some great relief in utilizing that for pain management. Again, it's like any other drug. Like honestly, truly believe, and you gotta, consider your usage and how you utilize it because, there's the recreational part of it, then there's the medicinal part of it, and that always comes down to the individual, their own personal use, and how they utilize it. I'd be lying to you if I didn't say I use it recreationally from time to time, but I definitely rely on it, utilize it for medicinal purposes, majority of the time, and it has been one of the best sources of relief for my long term, untreatable chronic pain. And I mean that's unfortunately it's gonna be here, and it's gonna be manageable, but it's not something that's gonna probably disappear tomorrow. And finding and figuring out a long term solution that can allow you to be functional and find some relief is kind of the name of the game, whatever that might be. So, Shawn, I know you utilize cannabis from time to time. Do you
Well,
maybe want to talk about
daily,
your
but
pain
yes.
and your experience
uh,
from it?
yeah.
I know, man.
So,
I'm just tossing it to you.
um, but yeah. So with my like my pain is I do have some nerve pain, and that tends to increase with spasticity. Like if my spasms are building and stronger through the day, my like lower extremities hurt more. My butt, back, everything just tends to hurt more. Oh, yeah. And then I have a ton of overuse pain, like my neck, shoulders, back, my wrist also. So my left wrist, I have an old like skating, snowboarding. This is like my save me hand. Like anytime I was gonna have to bail, this is the hand I like would catch the rail or the whatever with. And I've always had wrist problems, and like even right now it hurts. Like I have like shooting pain that will have like I don't know. This guy hurts though, and especially when I'm pushing a lot or doing a lot of ADLs, doing a lot of my different little like if I have a lot of tedious small stuff I'm doing with my hands, this thing will like really hurt bad. And that's one thing that I actually don't know how to get rid of that pain. I guess I could ice it. I should try to ice it and do things like that more. But my neck, shoulder, back pain that I deal with regularly, I try to use a lot of preventative maintenance. Every night I sleep with that DNA vibe red light therapy under my back thing. And I actually every 4 weeks go get a massage cupping treatment done. And the dude who does my massage and cupping has actually said that the inflammation and like tightness in the center of my back has lowered since I've been trying to use the extra nightly therapy. So I have like all these hippie things, man. I sleep also on a sheet that's grounding or earthing, which is supposed to be, if you guys have ever heard of it, it's like it's actually called earthing. And it's the theory of connecting yourself to the earth. Like it's like if people walk with their feet in the dirt, it like connects you to the negative, like the energy. Supposed to decrease inflammation. Bro, I sleep on it every night. I don't care. I have for years.
Sounds a little hippity dippity, Shawn. Just kidding, man.
Yeah,
Were you at
Oh,
the
it's super
expo the
hippy
year that
dippy.
guy was there with all that grounding and stuff? He gave out boxes for everybody the grounding you did.
That's
You
where I
actually-
first got it. That's where I first tried it.
I got one.
Julianne turned me on to it at the Abilities Expo.
Yeah.
Julianne was like, hey, they're giving free boxes out at the Abilities Expo. Try it out. I started putting it on my shoulder. I was like, you know what? I think it actually might feel better. So I got
It did do something.
and shout out the sheet. Actually, I should actually get the website. I can't remember, but
Well,
I actually
we'll
just
plug on
contacted a
when they
website
decide
and
to
she sent me
sponsor
the
it.
sheet for me to try. So I actually
Okay.
Yeah, they
so
have
I
a
actually,
sheet. They have a pillowcase.
yeah.
They have like almost like a sleeping bag where you can just ground your whole self inside of a cocoon, if you really wanted to.
Yeah.
It's kind of
So
cool.
they
Yeah,
have all so those are some of the things that I just basically try to do to maintain. I don't know if any of it does enough because I still constantly have neck pain, shoulder soreness. I have constant pain and soreness. But that is because I do a lot. Like I do overuse everything. Like
And I
I
mean, here's the
so
reality too: is the best solution is the one that works. You can call it. Anybody could call it hippity dippity. Anybody could call it whatever they want. But whatever the effect that it's causing, if it's providing some positive relief, then there's nothing wrong with it. And in fact, like there's no reason not to share it either. My parents are really into grounding. they used to take me out of my chair and like set me on a bench and take my shoes off and put my feet on the ground so that I could get grounded and get a little energy exchange with the earth.
All right,
And my
awesome.
toes would sit there, and I'm not talking spasms. Like my toes would sit there and like dig into the ground. Like I'm not even kidding. Like it's the craziest thing. So I was like, I didn't mean to laugh and make light of that, or make a joke out of it, Sean,
No,
because I
I
don't
make
think
light
it's
of
a
it.
joke. I think it does sound a little funny, maybe to the layman who's like, what are you talking about? Sleeping on a special sheet that's going to give me some energy
Snake
exchange,
oil stuff, right?
but hey, who
It does
knows?
sound like that, but but I think there are some
Ah,
pretty like reputable people that have used it and like speak on it and
right.
stuff. So,
Yeah.
um,
Um,
The
I
guy
just
that was
don't.
at the expo was pretty knowledgeable about that stuff, and some of I went to some of the seminars he did. I mean,
Yeah.
I put some of those patches on for a minute and stayed ground. It seems something worked, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah. And
I
I
mean,
see,
it's
like
crazy.
I am kind of like one of those like I do very much. I'm like, Mother Earth. Like I feel like the Earth is like alive and like like we need to treat it like I'm much more. I do have a very hippie mentality. Like that's like that. I very much do think like I believe in like the healing powers of natural properties in the earth and all that. So
And you hear
it's
that,
just like going
people?
out in the sun, getting some
Make
vitamin
sure
D,
you
especially if you had COVID. Get out
exactly.
there in the sun for
That's the
20 minutes.
best healing for me, honestly,
100%,
is the sun. When I'm super cold and hurting in the morning,
right?
waking up stiff and tense, the only thing that makes me feel better and lets me relax and loosen up is that like radiant heat. And if it's a cloudy day, I'm just kind of like, I can be a little sad and pissed off, be like, damn, I need my sunshine because like without that radiant heat, like, just spreads so evenly across my body, it's really hard for me to kind of thing. And it's my ritual. Like, and I feel so blessed to live here in LA because
Yeah.
like every morning there's be like my first thing I do is, go outside and sit with my cup of coffee in the sunshine and, just soak up some rays because that is super, super legit.
So
It
do you
makes
guys? I have a question. Do you guys hurt more in the colder months? Like, do
Oh,
you
yeah.
guys does
yeah, for
Oh,
sure.
yeah.
the shoulders neck? Okay,
It's
yeah,
like as soon as
It definitely
as
affects the
soon as the
nerves. I mean,
temperature
the
starts
colder the air,
going
the
down.
more effect.
Sorry,
I've been
Tommy.
so cold before I've had a hard time controlling my wheelchair. You know,
Yeah.
one time getting out of Big Bear when I skied Big Bear and went in that ice cold water, they put me back in my chair. I could barely get my chair off the dock. I mean, I thought, shit, I'm going for a
I
swim.
actually will agree to that, dude. Sometimes getting out of that water when you're skiing in Big Bear Lake, it's chilly. It's cold there, and yeah, I've been in my chair, and there's no way I'm pushing it at that point. I like have to be like pushed up the dock because I'm like my arms are like shivering. I'm like in this like state. I'm like
Yeah.
just trying to get warm, and it
And that
hurts,
that'll
and
cause the
that
pain
like
level
it
to go
does.
way up in the nerves. It'll
Oh yeah,
just
yeah.
skyrocket.
And
Yeah. It
Tommy,
makes the pain. Go ahead, Bobby.
Tommy, once, Tommy, once we were snow skiing all day with David Lowy,
Okay,
and
hell yeah,
him and I, him and I drove home for it's like what, a 3.5 hour drive, 4 hour drive,
right?
depending.
Oh yeah,
And we had the heat on high the whole way until maybe next to the last exit before we were just about to get off, and it was finally we said it's getting a little warm in here. We're like, oh, like nobody. If it wasn't two quads, nobody else could have been in that car because it just
no,
the
I've been
heat.
there. My during the wintertime, my minivan is my safe haven. If I'm too cold, if I'm with some friends, just like if we go to Supercross or something in January or February, I'll say, you know what, just put me back in the van, crank the heat on. I'll be fine. You guys go back in the show, concert, wherever we're at. As long as I'm in my van with my heat, I'm good to go. I'm
Yeah.
comfortable.
And it takes away the pain too. I mean,
Right. Oh yeah.
literally
Yeah.
it takes away the pain because you're cold and you're doing this, and probably especially for you,
That
Tommy, you're all tensed up.
I was
When it
gonna
gets
say that makes it so much worse when you do that tension. Once you
yeah,
start you're getting your neck tight like that, and that chills into your neck and your spine. It's over. Like,
yeah. No,
yeah,
and just FYI, I had my COVID and my booster shot and my flu
you're
shot on Sunday. Woke up Monday morning, everything's fine. I changed my catheter, and I don't know if it was a catheter change or the booster or the flu all combined, and it just gave me a cocktail of that all day, starting around 1 o'clock or 12 o'clock till midnight, 24, almost 24 hours or 12
Right.
hours. Yeah, no, 12 hours. I was just shaking from the fever, a light fever of 100.5. And it's
Shit.
so painful. I was just so painful. It's just like, my wife's like, take your hands off your ears. And I'm like, I can't. I can't. This hurts so bad. It's just trying to turn on the fan. I'm like, no, 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 no. It's just painful. And having a fever, you forget how painful for us quads it can be.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Cold is tough. I grew up in Northern California, where I'd like get up, catch the bus at like 6:30 in the morning, and stuff, and I'd be out in like the cold rain of NorCal in the Bay Area, and it's like a cool, bitter cold, like 30, 40 degrees, and I would sit there and shake and shiver. I'd sit and hug a space heater until I left towards the bus stop or whatever, and then I'd be out there just like literally shaking. I would shiver so bad, and I can really relate to that, Tommy. It's like it'd be hard to drive my chair, even to like open my arms and stuff, and like it sounds crazy, but like that's how cold I would get, and I
Right.
would like find some relief on the bus, unless it was like a lame bus driver who was like running the AC or something at those crazy morning hours. But the cold is hard. I any quad knows. I think any pair knows too. Probably to a certain extent, it can just exacerbate what's already there, and make it a little bit worse. And the
Right.
tense tightness that comes along with it, it just isn't helping. So getting yourself comfortable in a good comfortable temperature is definitely important, and a difficult balance to maintain during the winter months. Unfortunately for us, that means just a lot of inside, whatever that means. Like Tommy said, like even having like hard to escape to where you get the heater. Like I know how awesome that can be and what a relief that can be just to have that like safe little enclosed space to get back to.
Right.
But
And I
yeah,
don't think,
making sure
and
you're
I don't think
comfy.
I've ever seen Tommy without a jacket and a hoodie on at the same time. I mean,
Right.
it's been 92 degrees outside, and he's got that on. What you see, Tommy's wearing 24/7, probably.
Yeah. It's my
it.
go-to for
Honestly,
sure. I
yeah,
have the back of my
staying
neck.
warm does help that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, not to shift things too far, but I wanted to touch on something that Tommy said earlier because it's something that was just very relatable to me. In that I've been dealing with some chronic pain the last couple of years. Nothing, I had not really dealt with anything significant majority of my life, but the last say 4 or 5 years have been for real when it comes to the nerve pain, my neuropathy, and my muscle skeleton pain. That sorry, I keep freezing you guys. I don't know. I hope my audio is not freezing. Maybe just keep
I
me
don't know
baked,
yet.
John. It seems to be less noticeable. But in any event, um, I've had to kind of accept, hey, here we are. Um, this pain's gonna be hanging around. There's really no quick fix to like my tendons and my muscles and stuff that are overworn and unfortunately aren't gonna go back to how they were. It's kind of like take care of them the best I can now moving forward. And what does that mean? I mean, I'm talking like a pain management person, and he's like, "Well, have you considered like changing how you do things?" And I don't know. As a quad, that can be like one of the scariest questions in the world because like I worked my whole life to figure out how to do what I do. And it's kind of unique and it is very difficult to get there. And the thought of, changing my routine in any significant way is kind of a scary one, to be honest. But at this point, it might and it is my only solution to managing my pain, in that I got to figure out some different ways of doing what I'm already doing if I'm going to keep doing them, in the way that I want to, because I'm going to hurt and wreck myself to the point where I'm not going to be able to do my independent transfers. I'm not going to be able to take care of myself in that way. So, Tommy said it earlier, adapt and overcome. That's kind of where I'm at, in this point of I've worked on my independent skills for a really, really long time, and I've gotten, I think, to a really high level. But it's come at a cost that I'm now dealing with, and now I'm back at PT and I'm back at OT, and I'm like working on, finding some different ways of managing my independence tasks that I do regularly, but maybe utilizing some different muscles or some different methods that don't trigger or exacerbate the places where I really struggle with pain, because that's kind of where I'm at right now. Is every morning when I get myself dressed, anytime I do it, transfer and stuff, like I'm triggering, you know, pain points that are making, my work and my productivity and like what I want to be doing more difficult, because it's taking my attention away. I'm just having to deal with pain and discomfort. So that's tough. Hey, Bobby, I know you had
Yeah,
the Rolling
so
Hill
that's
show.
a
Like,
perfect. That's
go
kind of
ahead.
a perfect segue. Is that change and stuff like you were talking about? And one thing when we were talking about neuro and muscular types of pain, one that often isn't talked about enough is vascular pain. So your stomach, bloating, your digestive system, and you can, and I have a pretty good diet. I don't eat out a lot, and I eat my greens and everything else. But for years I was suffering, and I was suffering, and I knew what the solution was. It was to get a colostomy, but I fought it so hard. It's like, man, I don't want another attachment, like because I already had a super pubic, and it's finally I just caved to the pain. I was at one of my work events. We call it the SCI games at my hospital that I worked at, and I just almost collapsed. I was trying to get through my day of running an event, and right when it was done at 101, I had to rush to my van, and I collapsed in my van. I stayed there an hour, drove home, and collapsed inside the house. My wife just put me in bed. It was so awful, and I'm like, okay, I'm ready. I'm ready. Let's go see a doctor. And after the surgery, it did take care of a lot of that pain. Not all of it, but a lot of it. And it didn't take care of also the other. I get a lot of burning pain in the legs, so a lot of my calves burn all the time, or like I felt like I did a 56-mile run of some sort up the mountains, and it's just like, geez, especially the left one. And most of my pain comes on my left side of my body. That is uh, just annoying, just annoying. You get through it, but that change, and for me, 33 years, I've been pushing my own manual wheelchair. It's not going to last long. And that change to go to a power, or if I go to ZX1 or whatever I go to, it's not looking forward to it, because you built all this independence the way, like you were saying, Tom. I built all this independence. Now I got to change everything. How I transfer out of the power chair into my bed, into into the car. It's a little shaky. Oh, I made my
Yeah,
house and doorways the size of my chair, and my doorways are somewhat intact, except for Tom. You did not scratch it, but I have another good buddy who tore my
I was
doorways.
careful.
Yeah, and you saw it.
Yeah,
So it's just like, man, yeah, dude, and I know that's what, me living in a full-time power chair here, I'm going to destroy this house, and I know I'm going to have to hear it from the wife. So, change is
I
hard.
had a I had a couple IPAs give me a nice buzz, but I managed to avoid any, dings on the door
Yeah.
jambs. But
Dude,
it just goes to show, I think what Bobby said is like a change. Like, it sounds like for Bobby is probably the scariest thing in the world, going from like a manual chair to a power chair. I would say, like, bro, you could be more independent from a power chair than you are from a manual chair. Like,
Absolutely.
but
Absolutely.
that's what I'm used to, and that's how I live my life. But I think it also
For me,
speaks
I
to,
was in a manual chair for the first couple of years of my doing. I
uh,
had quad pegs in the whole bit, and then what happened was when minivans first came out, I said, "Fuck, I want a minivan at all costs. I don't care what it is. I want a minivan, not a full size van, because I want
yeah,
that look." And
yeah,
I couldn't get up the ramp of a minivan, so I had to go to a modified chair with a Damaco motor, which was a portable motor that used to be years ago built out here in
Mhm.
Chatsworth. Bobby's probably very familiar with the Damaco. And it was just these rollers that rolled on the wheels, and you hit a bump, the fucker went off. It was just off kilter. It was crazy, but it
Yeah.
gave me the
Couldn't go out in the
independence
rain.
into the minivan. So, and then all of a sudden, the independence I had, especially if I was in a bar and I see a pretty girl across the way, I didn't have the mobility to get there quick enough to meet this girl. She's gone. Now I'm in the power chair. I thought, shit, I should have done this years ago. But it does have its pluses. And I mean, I go a mile and a half, 2 miles from my house, especially during the summertime on a daily basis, to go have dinner, go have lunch, because there's 13 restaurants from my house.
Yeah, you're
My
like,
caregiver
Yeah.
here, when I live with my girlfriend, when I'm always by myself, I could always have that freedom, and the dog
Yeah.
could exercise the dog as well. So there are some pluses, but I mean, any type of a change, especially losing something what you think is your mobility and stuff, is huge. I mean, I went from a condom catheter to super pubic. That took me 25 years at least to finally change over. But next thing
Really?
I know, not having leaks. I'm drinking as much as I want, fluid wise and stuff. No bladder infections,
and
and
that's a
that's
different, yeah, and that's a great different type of independence, the same as
right,
my colostomy. It gave me this new independence. I don't have to be on the crapper for
right,
2 hours. I don't have bleeding hemorrhoids anymore. I don't get bloated anymore. So that independence finally paid off with the cost of suffering for so long. And you probably suffered yourself for so long and
oh
being
yeah,
so hard headed of change. And I don't, and it not only does it do it for the chair, it does it for the vascular system. And one thing I want to say about vascular system, a lot of our listeners who reach out to me about the colostomy, that's the first thing they start talking about is how bloated they are and they can't get rid of it. And so I think that goes to the wayside a lot because so many people have the neuro and the muscular type of pain, so they don't really focus on vascular. But yeah, definitely what you're saying, Tom.
Well,
yeah,
yeah, I mean, I think it's important to just remark and note too. I mean, it's kind of one of the reasons why we do this show is, we're all kind of constantly navigating our life and, changing some things around and, trying to problem solve and stuff. If it ever became, to like down to like me having to switch to a manual chair to like better help with my independence, better help with my health or safety or whatever it is. I know at least I got some cool bros I can pick their brain and talk to and get good information in regards to the transition and adapting to that change. And similar with Bobby and making the shift to power assist wheels or even a power chair and stuff. He's got like a good base to at least start to build off of and get tips and tricks and lean off of. Change can be scary, but change is also necessary in order to keep evolving and staying healthy and keeping yourself good. A lot of my change has just come down to my habits. Like one of my favorite things to do is like play video games, but it's also one of the most triggering things for my wrists is to sit there on a controller for 3 or 4 hours and not think about it, but be constantly flexing and using my hands and using my wrists and stuff, and then being like, shit, like now the rest of the day's screwed because like I hurt myself. It's gonna be real hard to do my ADLs to function, do what I got to do. But what's the solution to that would allow me to still do what I want, enjoy myself and do something I like to do, but not have to deal with that. I gotta take breaks. I gotta every 50 minutes. I gotta take a 10-minute break and get a drink and hydrate myself and just pause and get my wrists, give them a break and let them chill for a few minutes and then go back at it if I still feel inclined to do so. But it's just finding some kind of balance. It's adjusting and finding
right,
balance, and that
Tracking
doesn't necessarily mean like completely abandoning what you love or what you enjoy or what provides you some relief. Because I'd say like the distraction of playing video games either by myself or with my buds is like a really great pain management tool. And that I'm not thinking about the discomfort or the pain that I might be feeling, even if it's there while I'm doing that. And that's kind of invaluable to me in a certain sense. So it's really comes down to balance. It's a very tricky balance to find, and it's unfortunately one that I don't think anybody else can find for you. It's something that everybody has to navigate, but that doesn't mean that you can't utilize and take advantage of the tools and services we got around us. Be it therapy, and like I've just gone to my OT, talked to them about like what is triggering me and causing me discomfort, and we're just brainstorming and trying out some different ways of doing those things that I'm used to doing that way. And same with my PT. And, that's how I'm utilizing those services. It's not necessarily rehab because, I mean, it's rehabilitation in a certain sense, but, it's just helping utilize some other resources to navigate this outside of my own. doctors, therapists, and otherwise. These guys are a really great source of information to, just the community in general. So don't forget about that. And it's not a journey. Can feel like a very singular journey at times. Even talking to a pain management doctor, but it is not one that you have to go about alone. There's lots of services and resources, friends and people that are more than happy to weigh in a non-judgmental way and offer opinions, advice, and whatever. And a couple of them, if you don't have any, so you can point to for sure.
Tom, you got your pain management doctor. I mean, and you got to find the right doctor too. I mean, because not everybody knows
Yeah,
about spinal cord injury, and you've got to really, really advocate for yourself, and not,
yeah,
I mean, if you don't think you're being heard, ask for another opinion. I mean, I've had to find so many different opinions, and I learned that early on. I mean, it was the one thing that they really drilled into my head at Northridge about being an advocate for myself and learning my own body and learning everything and just really, knowing exactly. I mean, I could tell you if my shoes are too tight, what type of a dysreflexic headache I'm getting, or sweating, or stuff like that.
yeah,
Those different pains. You get a doctor that just wants to throw pills at you and just to shut you up. You'll find those, or you'll find some that might be very, very helpful. But you've got to really, really search out those doctors that know spinal cord injury and know dysreflexia and know different things.
Well, a lot
So
of people don't realize too, the physiatrists, the doctor of physical medicine, the ones that are
right,
generally specialized in spinal cord injury, also specialize in this field called PMRN, pain management rehab specialist. And what they are, like when I requested from my regular family practice doctor to see a physiatrist, that's who he sent me to. It was a pain management clinic for elderly people, and it was a guy that specialized in physical medicine, but not complex long term chronic spinal cord injuries. And it took me talking to him, being like, I explained to him what I was dealing with, and he told me straight up, and I'm really grateful for his honesty. And that it's like, hey, what you're talking about is a little outside of my range. Like, I don't think the therapy here at this facility is like even really what you're looking for either, because you need something more specialized, something at like a spinal cord injury rehab where you can do things like I talked about a few minutes ago, problem solve, how you're doing, what you're doing, someone that understands spinal cord injury. And it took 2 years to get, referrals in my insurance to finally send me to a physiatrist that specializes in spinal cord injury at Cal Rehab. And I'm very grateful I took the time and energy to get there. It's a really tough journey and a lot of phone calls and a lot of runarounds and bullshit. Part of my French, but I got there, and now my doctor, Dr. B, is amazing and awesome, and he's given me a sense of security and a sense of like well-being moving forward, knowing that I got someone in my corner who understands exactly what I'm going through, who's willing to not only listen and understand, but advocate for things that are in turn going to help me get better and feel better and function better. So in terms of like what that's worth, like well worth the time and energy it took to get there, even though it was a long time. And I felt like a lot
But,
of
but
wasted
you didn't
energy.
you didn't give up, Tom, and you pursue, ah, pursued
Pursued.
the direction that you needed to get the right treatment. A lot of people get frustrated and they give up. So finding out what your treatment plan is important and having a direction, and it's not going to happen overnight. One of our listeners asked me, why I was shaking my head when you said gabapentin. And nothing against it because I know a lot of people, it works. It just didn't work for me. I felt, weird and shaky, and it just didn't work. And that wasn't, it just wasn't for me. That's the only reason why was shaking my head. But I went back and we found something that did work. I didn't need it all the time. Because when we think about treatment plans, not only are we thinking about medicine and cold, ice packs like you're doing, Tommy, but also, you got to think about stress. Reduce your stress because that's going to throw in a lot of inflammation. You know, Tom, we got two Tommies now. I want to
Tom and Tommy.
say, you want it like you were saying, Tom, distract yourself. I mean, I think
right.
that's why my first until my body was finally saying, hey, slow down. I was distracting myself, for 10 years because I didn't have any pain at all for the first 10, 15
Right.
years. And then after 15 years, all of a sudden I was just like, the heck is this? My calves are burning. My feet feel like somebody's, standing on top of them. And then what's going on with my stomach and,
That's
my neck, just like it was coming on little by little. And then, it's just like, yeah, keep yourself distracted. Another
so
thing
that's
you
where
want to
I'm
do
at,
is,
Bobby. I've been because I'm at about to be at year 19 in January, and like 4 or 5 years ago, I started having all these pains and like I've never had before, like all the
yeah, you're
extra.
like, wait, I heard everybody else had. I thought I was gonna be the one that, missed it, but no. Another thing is my wife does this, and she does it for her own, and I don't do it. Um, Keep a record of your pain. Mark it down. Then
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
started doing this with the cold. Why I was always getting a lot more pain when it was colder outside. I just started marking down on a calendar somewhere around the mid October. All of a sudden, I just noticed more pain. And then because our weather here in Southern California, it goes like this, and it goes like this, and it goes like this, and it goes
Right.
like this. And where you live, Tommy, I lived where you lived. It's hot in the
Right.
day, cold at night, and you're like,
Yeah.
can't expect that. Oh, that where luckily now I live, it doesn't, it barely does spike. So it's a lot better for my environment. And not that everybody can just live in an area where they can have little spikes
Yeah.
like that. Or like our friends in Canada that, our good friend Paul, I don't know how he does it. So
Oh, I hear Saskatoon gets pretty cold in the wintertime.
I
But
don't know how anybody does in that cold weather.
we
I mean,
got
we're,
we have viewers
last
that
week
live in the
we had 2 days of rain last week. The very next day was 75, 77 degrees. I was outside. I follow my dog. I got two dogs. My pit bull, that dog will find the smallest bit of sun anywhere in my yard. If I can find the dog, I'll find the sun. And I'll go right where that dog is and, tilt back and feel that warm sun on my body. After 2 days of rain, I don't know how anybody could handle Seattle or something like that because I've got to see a blue sky and I got to see the sun. Or just like today, I had to go to Malibu. I had to see myself. I had to see the ocean. I had to see the waves. I had to smell, inhale that salt air. Because I'm just getting over a bad cold I've had for like 3 weeks.
yeah.
Pretty much all the same symptoms of COVID. I'm not sure if it was or not. I had all those
Well,
symptoms and I was fighting.
unfortunately, our RSV, which is like respiratory simplex virus, and then the flu and COVID are all going around all at the same
Right.
time at like rates that are the highest they've been recorded in a long time. So everybody out there, just make sure you're washing your hands and masking up and taking the right precautions because there's a lot going on. It's not just COVID, and stuff to be just wary of. Boost that immune system. Take care of yourself. I just want to take a second to shout out some of our people in the chat. What up, Angry Quad? Thanks for joining us, homie. What up, Banny Boy? Mr. Tipton, thank you for the super chat earlier, man. We love you, Ben.
Yeah,
Really appreciate you always being here. And everybody, Sue Rob, aka Air Wings, in the building. And Daryl, thank you guys so much for all being on here and participating in the chat. I always love, reading and hearing about, your guys' experience and, what everyone's going through because it's all relatable, it's all helpful, and it's honestly kind of why we're doing this to, share and aggregate as many experiences and resources and bits of information we can, in one place. So all of it's super appreciated. Lots of love to you guys and everybody else watching. Should I
Yeah,
also
thanks for
Ang-
thank our
bringing us on.
sponsors?
Angry Quad. Sean in the chat asked if Tommy did the artwork on as well, and yeah, that is one of Tommy's. That
Yeah.
is one of his pieces up there.
That's
That
my
is
biggest attraction is going in the
Hollenstein
studio and
original.
spending time on the paint. And I get
Yeah.
distracted by my pain there.
And I do want to talk about that in 1 second. But Sean, let me shout out our sponsors real quick before we get too far into the end and just
Yeah, I
thank
wanted
them. And I want to talk about the mental health side of, the pain thing. And, a big part of that is, finding a distraction and stuff, which we'll touch on more in just a second. But big shout out to our sponsors, Mobility Professionals. They're a rehabilitation equipment specialist company out here in Southern California, and they specialize in wheelchairs and other rehab equipment. If you find yourself in need of a new wheelchair or in a wheelchair you're not happy with, give them a call. They are amazing people that do a lot to support our community, do a lot to support Live to Roll, but they are just have a huge heart and people that are passionate about getting you what you need when it comes to your equipment, your independence, and your mobility. They'll work with your insurance. They'll work with you. Figure out what you need. Figure out how to get it to you. For as little cost to you as possible. And I promise you won't regret going to them because they'll make you feel at home. Their sister company too is Urology Professionals. They are a national brand that's available anywhere in the U.S. So if you find yourself in need of catheters, nobody should. Because they're covered by every insurance out there, even the free insurance. So if you find yourself in a situation where you're not getting your catheters, you're not getting the right amount, you're not getting the right stuff, stop struggling. Call urology professionals. Let them know Liptrol sent you and get some help that you need because they, again, just specialize in this stuff. It's their job to help understand your situation, what you need, and then work with your insurance to get it and, take some of the stress off of that situation for you. So give them a call. Let them know Liptrol sent you. And they'll treat you with lots of love. Even if you don't say Liptrol sent you, they'll still take care of you. But just let them know because it helps us out, and we appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure. We
Yeah.
are super appreciative of our sponsors. So thank you guys, and thanks everybody in the
Now,
chat too.
mental health is kind of, another big part of physical health, I feel like. I think our physical health can often lend to the state of our mental health. And there are few things as hard on our mental health as pain. It can just exacerbate any other stress from life you're feeling. It can make every other situation harder. To be honest, if you're hurting, it can kind of exacerbate the rest of it and make it feel a little bit worse than it might actually be. Um, you know, I mental health is a conversation that my pain management doctor thankfully had with me, asking if I wanted to talk to someone, a therapist possibly, or, someone that just might have some tools or tricks, in terms of like maintaining my best mental health while I'm dealing with and taking care of my physical health and, possibly some negative side effects like pain associated with that. I do really urge anyone if they find themselves seriously struggling with mental health to let someone know, let anybody know. Reach out to therapists. Seek some outside help. It can be hard sometimes, I think, to do that, but is generally a very beneficial step to take when it comes to just figuring out an outlet. Finding someone to talk to that might have some tools in the bag that you're not aware of to help handle this.
Well,
When it comes to chronic
If
pain, I was gonna say
I was
like we just were talking about it. Distractions, positive, healthy ones. You guys want to jump on in?
well, I was just
well,
gonna mention real quick that the mental health thing, if you're having struggling with mental health, that's gonna also contribute to your physical health and pain. Well, it all translates. It's all it all goes together. So
Yep.
yeah, definitely.
go ahead, though.
And
Sorry.
if you don't have the proper doctors, you can go online nowadays and find the right therapist online. After COVID, they all like to do it online. My therapist, she's like, no more office. This is the best thing. So I get to see her, at home in my own comfort, and I love it. I know some people it might not work for them, but you know, look out. I think you can go to therapy.com and find a doctor in your area. You can put in your insurance information, and they'll search the right therapist for you and test out a few of them. Also, if you want to go your own route, I mean, I've used it and I only use the free portion, but that Calm app is definitely worked. And I was telling Shawn before the show, I sleep with it now with rain sound and thunder. I just have the best sleep. It's just so relaxing. And then each morning I wake up and do the daily calm, and then a couple other little things. I have stories, and it really does help. Last night, I wasn't sure if it was the COVID booster or maybe the UTI, but it was just like I need to relax. I need to relax. I'm getting myself to work up because I was shaking. And my wife's like, turn on your calm. I'm like, oh, yeah, duh. So I turn on the calm and listen to a story.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
audiobooks can be really great in that vein too. Just like a little mental distractor. It's like amazing how just listening to someone and pulling your mind away from those thoughts that are kind of centered on your discomfort can be a huge benefit. Tommy's a world famous artist, and his one of his favorite outlets is painting. Maybe you want to speak on that a little bit, Tommy?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely a big distraction. I've been painting about a little over 22 years now. And when I'm in the studio, choosing colors, it just, got my mind focused on the art. I'm not focused on anything else but that painting, and I
Yeah,
go in there 2, 3 hours at a time sometimes. Last year, thank God, was during the winter time. I had the 6 weeks of straight. I was working on that one project. It was a big 20 foot by 400 foot painting, thousand
yeah,
yeah,
board,
huge.
24 inches by 48. And I mean, it made the cold winter go by so quick. So I spent 6 weeks straight in the studio for 4.5, 5 days a week, sometimes 10, 12 hours a day.
Wow.
Damn.
uh,
Some of the nights when I was in there and I have to go outside to rinse my tire, that was a little brutal. But
yeah.
we had, what do you call it, propane heaters going in there the whole time. It was like cranking up the heat and just distracting myself. That's a big deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What are your distractions, Sean? What works good for you? Other than live to
Uh,
roll, which is one of my favorite distractions.
and this honestly is like just staying busy because it does keep me busy and like
Yeah.
um and it's weird too, just like not maybe not this, but even like doing the triumph groups and different, just like talking and like doing stuff like this, like the social, even the virtually, like sometimes that's enough to just mentally like kind of like sometimes if I'm feeling down, not feeling great, like I just have a better energy after like something like this or a support group or something, like but for me, like most nights, I just like, because that's when my pain pretty much builds through the day. Like in the morning, I do have a lot of spasticity. I stretch, but my pain isn't too bad, and it just kind of like as I'm in the chair doing things, working myself, it builds. So the last couple hours of the day, I really just try to mentally and physically unwind. Like I watch a couple shows. That's when I do the most smoking of my day. It's pretty much right in that last couple hours. So like I just watch a show, and that's kind of just like my mental release. It just like mind, everything, just
Yeah.
body settle. And for me, that does, it releases a lot of tension and just like that I've built through the day. So
Yeah. And it's funny because Sean will like do the full relax and like get out of his chair onto the couch and like, I'll be in my chair usually all day long. Like I don't hop in and out of the chair as much as, some of these guys do. But I
But
think that can be, really important too. Is like getting your body in a different physical state. And, I will
I
do
actually
that where I won't necessarily get out of my chair, but I'll put my feet up. I'll, lay back. I'll tilt back, just like Tommy is talking about. Just tilt back all the way and do that full pressure release and get your
right.
blood flowing in a different direction. What were you gonna say,
Yeah, and
Sean?
I was just gonna say the for me when I do get out of my chair for an hour, 2 hours to get into the couch, for like brief periods of the day, that breaking that chair time up for me does also really help with my, if I spend the entire day, like when we're at the abilities expos weekends or different things like events where I'm just all day, I don't get that chance to get out of the chair. I have way more pain and tension and just everything that whole night. And even the next day, I'm going to feel that more. So by breaking up the day and moving, getting into different positions and just like kind of like just keeping my body not in the same compacted tight spot the entire 12 hours or whatever I'm up for the day, that helps a lot with my overall pain and comfort. I, I was
Yeah,
gonna say,
I'm I'm not.
Angry Quad mentioned floor training, and I see his on his YouTube. He does that. He gets out of his chair. I don't think any of us quads are doing that, dude. We're not quite as functional.
I'm getting
Hey,
I
I'll throw
definitely
my
can't.
ass on the floor as long as I got someone around to help me get back up. But I agree, Quad. To also answer your earlier question, have you guys ever heard of Friendly Shoes? Yeah, I actually got a pair of Friendly Shoes. They're a cool
What is that?
company that does adaptive shoes, and their whole thing is like they want to make shoes accessible enough for Michael J. Fox, but like trendy enough for Brad Pitt or something like that. I forget the exact saying, but the idea is to make accessible shoes that also look fashionable and look good. And they got some cool ones. They got some really nice looking shoes, and the zipper access along the side to do them independently with the hooks and the loops that kind of sneak in, and the normal look of the shoe. They're pretty cool.
Yeah.
And also they're just like a couple guys you're working really freaking hard to build this company and grow it. And I love stuff like that. It's just like 2 or 3 dudes. One guy does the marketing, one guy does the warehouse stuff, and like they just make it work. So definitely go check out some Friendly Shoes. You can, I think, Google them, go to their website.
I just found their website right now. I googled it.
Yeah, yeah.
That's
Super.
nice.
And
Yeah, we
yeah,
met them at the LA Expo. They were right behind our booth, actually.
and I
Yeah.
want to just give them a big shout out because they did give us all free shoes for being cool.
I was
and
the
hanging
only
out
one.
all
I,
weekend.
I don't see. I think they asked me my
Shawn did
size.
it.
Mine either got taken by somebody else at the expo, or I don't know what happened. But I think I'm the only one that didn't get a pair.
No, they're all.
Damn.
What's nice though also is the zipper not only on the side, but it loops around towards the back of the heel, so makes it super easy to get on and off.
Yeah.
Oh, that's cool.
Um, I wanted to talk about something too. I was kind of thinking about how to maybe frame this. Um, sometimes pain too. I don't know. My dad. Talk about my pops for a second. He deals with a lot of chronic pain. He has his whole life. He was in an accident when he was young that broke him up, and he's got a bunch of plates and screws all throughout his body. And as a result, has been dealing with chronic pain for majority of his life. So as I've gone down this journey myself, I kind of find myself reflecting on those moments. I've seen my dad, hurting, hurting bad to the point where you could really see it in his face and in his body and the way he was moving and stuff. And it was kind of scary because he'd work every day and he'd come home and work until the minute he went to bed, and it's just this like seemingly unstoppable force. But to kind of see something break him down is it's like, damn, what the hell is this stuff, you know? But he's got this kind of grit your teeth and bear it attitude, and that he doesn't want to take anything for it. He's finally started to address it and do it, and that he's wearing his braces and he's doing some things to help curb the progression of things getting worse, because he's had to. But I've employed a little bit of that in my life too, and not all the time because I definitely got my pain management techniques, but I'd say this is kind of one of them. And I mean, there's some instances, there's some days where like I get up and I'm hurting really bad and I don't got any care and I'm all by myself, and I gotta freaking grit my teeth and bear it and push through. And I don't want to like promote that to anybody, like step up, push through, like own it, just like grit your teeth and bear it. But sometimes we find ourselves in a situation where that's all we can do. There is
Yeah.
no immediate solution. There is nothing that's gonna help me right now, and I got a lot of shit I gotta do. Not like for pleasure, for like entertainment, but for function and health and just daily life, and being able to kind of suffer and endure and push, push past maybe what I thought I was capable of, and come out the other side and be like, fuck yeah, like I did that, I made it. Now I do feel a little bit better. Like I might be, hurting a little bit still, or hurt a little bit more, even as a result. But having like, dug a little deeper within myself, and still not let it be an excuse to not do what I need to do. I think, I don't know, it's not definitely the attitude you want to have all the time, because you can't push until you break. That's not what I'm talking about here. But sometimes having that, when working on that mental fortitude to push past and endure, rather than just giving up, or not doing in light of doing, because hurting or not feeling the greatest. Sometimes I think it can be a good thing to push yourself a little bit. And again, this is not any kind of um, maybe positive advice. I don't think it's like how your mentality and attitude should be all the time, because I don't think that's a positive way to go about it, because we always need to be looking towards positive solutions. But sometimes that's what it comes down to. It's just digging deep and pushing. And I know Bobby and Shawn and Tommy can relate, because because there's just certain instances where, a lot of times I found it's not even for myself, it's for a loved one, or, it's for somebody else, where it's just like, fuck, like I don't know if I can do this, but I don't have any other choice. So, I'm going to just like dig deep and try my hardest and, hopefully come out the other side all right. And, yeah, I don't know. I just thought it was important to touch on. Thoughts?
Yeah,
I like
as long as it's pleasant. Go ahead, Tommy.
No, because I mean, some of the days I've had my pain levels that bad, especially with dealing with when I had COVID and dealing with the cold stuff. Now, I mean, but I do know if I get into the chair, it's going to be once I do get through that 2 hours of getting into the shower, getting dressed, and into my chair, it's going to be 1,000 times better. My
Yeah.
pain, and everything else, and I will definitely have a way better day, and something good will come about it. But I mean, nothing has ever done me good sticking my ass stuck in that bed. I don't tell you, I was stuck at one time 6 years ago for 2 months straight. Every time I get in my wheelchair, I get this reflexia. I start sweating like a pig for like an hour and it'd stop. It took us 6 weeks to finally figure it out. What was happening was I had fractures on my sacrum, either from water skiing, from the bouncing, or from driving my ski boat I used to have. And I mean, all of a sudden I get the results one night. Doctor says, "Hey, I got good news and bad news. We finally figured it out, but you've got to stay in bed for the next 2 months." I mean, I got up every day, took a shower. I said, "Fuck it, I'm taking a shower no matter what every day." But
Yeah.
I would just go side to side in my bed for 2 months for those fractures to heal. And then the other thing was, like, it was during the month of October and November, and it was right when I was supposed to get my third service dog. So I had to put my service dog on hold and everything else. I couldn't get that dog till I could spend 16, 17 hours a day in the chair, so I could get the dog and go through the training process and stuff. But yeah, I mean, it's tough. But I know once I get in the chair, I guess I'm gonna have a great day. It's gonna be a much better day, put it that way, for sure. And plus, even with my ability, especially like when I was having those coughing in the cold and stuff, if I'm in bed, man, I have no chance of trying to throw my body forward because I've only got 37% lung capacity. Trying to cough anything out of my chest is not going to happen in that bed, but it'll definitely have a much better chance of me getting rid of a cold while I'm sitting up and I've got use of my mechanics and stuff.
Yeah.
So definitely, it's
And I mean, I can just really relate to that too, is because like that's when I talk about that mental fortitude. Like that's sometimes when I'll use it is like, in the morning I'm waking up, I'm hurting, I'm shivering, I'm cold, I'm uncomfortable, and my body's spazzing, that's going crazy, and I know I got 2 hours of like uncomfortable care to endure. While my ass is sitting there naked. Hanging from a sling, and I know it's
right.
just gonna be freaking
There you go.
miserable. And I'm like, gosh, but I know that at the end of it, I got a hot shower at the least, and I got
Oh,
I'm gonna be up in my chair, and hopefully got some
nothing better
sunshine
than a hot
outside,
shower.
and a hot cup of coffee like
Gosh.
ready for me, and like just having that mental fortitude to kind of push past what I know isn't going to be comfortable or what I know isn't going to be easy, but it's going to get me to that comfort and to that ease that like is what I'm looking for and what I need. It really does help a lot. So yeah.
It's funny though, over the years, for me, it's a little bit of the opposite of what Tommy, now getting out of my chair, because getting on my couch, it's easy. It's just getting
Got
back into my chair, and it's just not easy for my wife to even somewhat
Okay.
assist. So it is
Right.
nice, for us after we eat dinner, try to let that digest and give it an hour and a half before we go lay down. But we're trying to like, oh, okay, we're gonna eat dinner at 6:30. We'll get in bed at 8. It's like, and I mean, I fought getting in bed even before 11. Like I don't even, back in my 20s and 30s, I was not getting. Like my wife would go to bed and I'd stay up watching TV, doing everything, but going to bed until about 11:30. And now it's like, ooh, it's 7:30. Think it's okay to start getting back there and let's get out of my chair. It's just like absolutely. So
All right, old man Bobby.
That's why Bobby's doing the rolling over the hill show now.
yeah, it is like I'm more comfortable too watching. I'm like, let's just say I mean tonight we're gonna watch the new Yellowstone, and it's a 2 hour show. And I'm being in my chair for a 2 hour show. For me, it's like you're not really distracted. So, and if I got something to distract me, I'm not paying attention to the show. So it's just much easier on my body to get out and be comfortable. In my bed, the new bed I got about I don't know, 3 years ago. It's a charm, man. It is. It's one of the sleep numbers. The head comes up. It's beautiful. It was a game changer.
Nice.
Angry Quad's comment, bed rhymes with dead. Oh, I know some people find a lot of, relief, comfort in, their ability to hop in their bed and lay down. I don't want to knock it, but I'm going to, echo that comment a little bit in that I do really incentivize if you're in a position to, able to get up, every day, at least for a couple hours and get out, get some sunshine, or, move, get your body moving. I think it's, hugely beneficial that being, bedbound for days at a time and, that very sedimentary lifestyle can just be really hard on you physically and I think mentally as well. I know,
Yeah.
unfortunately, that's the situation for some individuals. So, I don't want to speak too negatively on it because, like, some people are just stuck in bed. They don't have the help, care, the ability to get up every day and do what they do, or maybe even the want. But, so I don't want to speak on it negatively, but I do think it's important. I haven't encountered a single person, at any level of injury that, if they could get up and get out and get moving a little bit, didn't look a little bit happier and healthier as a result. So it's just kind of my opinion and thoughts.
I fully agree. Yeah. It's just that yeah, physically, mentally, everything I think is tougher if you're laying down for days, weeks at a time. So
Mr. Lee, Quad Boy, what's up, man? Pain sucks.
Bang
Thanks for saying it. We've been talking about it. You got any tips or tricks you utilize to help you manage your pain? And Air Wings, hey Shawn, are we gonna have any games on the event day? So if you're not sure what that is, we got a little fundraiser coming up. Live to Roll. We're doing a little Friendsgiving. It's coming up in 2 weeks here, and it's going to be hosted out towards Bobby's in Fountain Valley, if I'm not mistaken, which is out towards Long Beach. It's out
Huntington.
east.
Huntington Beach.
Huntington Beach. It's a we try to just pick somewhere kind of centralized to LA. I know we got a lot of people that are viewing from elsewhere. You're more than invited if you get your ass out here. I'll put you up in my apartment, place to stay. We'll figure it out. I'll help you out. But if anybody's local or not local and does want to come out, come and join us. Our goal is to work on raising some funds for our travels and stuff coming up next year. We want to go back and do the expos again, and unfortunately, it's a hell of a price tag that comes along with flying our crippled asses halfway across the country. And yeah, we're just working on raising a little bit of money for that. So
And
it's
yeah,
fifty
this is
dollars
the
for a
first
ticket.
time.
Dinner's included. To answer your question, there will be games. There are not only are there going to be games and unlimited fun associated with those, but there's going to be some raffles as well. Maybe some
And
games
prizes for the games.
raffles, and yeah, prizes and dinner, drinks, you name it, it's happening. And I don't want to toot my horn, but the Conaways are known for throwing some of the most legendary parties in history. And you combine Bobby and Shawn into that mix, and whew, we're working up towards a doozy. So don't sleep on those tickets. If you are able to come out, we'd love to have you join. Super excited to hang out with all you guys and party in person and just do a little bit of friends celebrating. Um,
And if you're not able to make it, you can buy a ticket to support us. That's the main thing. So go to our
Yeah.
superstore and get your ticket. If you can make it, great. If you can't, at least you're supporting the channel and making this thing grow. And
and
hopefully
we'll
we
make
can.
sure and
And
we'll
if
make sure
you
the ticket
want,
goes to
instead of
somebody
doing
too.
just a donation, if you want to buy some of the merch off the Shopify store, you can do that too. That also helps. That
I'm
brings in the
wearing
money.
a beautiful Live
Long
to Roll,
sleeve.
rolling with the homies shirt right now. You can see, got that short sleeve. Sean's got the long sleeve action. I'll take off the jacket. But you can't
A
beat the
lip.
quality of the material. It's so soft. It works great for my sensitive skin. Not only that, it makes me look super stylish and sexy along
Uh,
the way.
a-
So hey, you want to look sexy like Tom? Get yourself over to that store.
And then if
that's
you
right.
want to support us, you can do it by also doing what Olivia did. Thank you so much for that super chat,
Yeah,
Olivia.
Olivia, thank you for the super chat. You didn't have to do that. You're going to Comic Con that weekend? That's awesome. I didn't
Oh
know
my God, I'm jealous. I might
Comic
have to
Con was
bail on
going
the
on.
Friendsgiving and
Um,
come with you guys. I'm just kidding. That's
well,
amazing
we
though.
can go to Comic Con on the Friday or Sunday. It's usually 3 days,
I
Tom. We'll go.
Sounds good. Sounds good. Sounds good. We'll leave the party
And
and
I,
go to Comic
and
Con.
I don't think that's the main Comic Con in San Diego. I think that's the LA one they do, and easier to
Okay.
get to and do tickets.
Heck yeah. Well, Olivia, we love you. We appreciate your support so much. And let me just read Mike's comment out loud. He said, "Well, I still take some pain medication, mix it with pot. We talked about utilizing medication and medicinal marijuana earlier. I've been blessed not to have an addictive personality, so I'm able to take the pills for breakthrough pain. And that's also something we touched on is, well, it's always up to the individual to kind of manage what they put in their bodies and the effect that it has on them. Unfortunately, when it comes to pain meds, the effect can sometimes be a little stronger than other kinds of medication. And with that, it needs to just come in awareness of that effect and make sure, it's not affecting you beyond too much beyond, helping curb the breakthrough pain, like Mike is talking about. But that comes through a lot of conversation. I think self-awareness, and also communication with your doctor, honest communication with your doctor about how you're utilizing it and what you're doing. And anybody, if you're putting anything in your body, really recommend mentioning it to your doctor and just keeping them in the loop. Yeah, they're not going to judge you or frown upon you for doing it unless it's hurting you, affecting you negatively. Then they'll probably give you their professional opinion. But he says, "Hell, I've even thrown some
I
quadriplegic
think
table
he's talking about
dancing."
the party.
Oh,
So yeah, Mike, if you want to come to the party and be our
hey,
entertainment,
we got you.
Mike,
I'll hop up on the table there with you, dude. I'm not sure. We might scare everybody away, but hey, more booze for us if that's the case.
Mike, I would love to have you out for this.
Yeah,
yeah,
we miss you guys so much, and I hope you and the missus are doing really well. Um, Mr. Lee's a really great friend of the SCI community here in Northridge and Greater Southern California, and yeah, amazing, awesome guy. And he said, Air Wings probiotic really
Saved
saved
my
my
life.
life.
for because of the bowel stuff, because of the pills and everything. I think.
Absolutely. And they
I'm very
really,
glad you brought that up,
they,
Bobby, because you said it, like vascular pain associated with bloating and discomfort, and just like tummy pain and stuff can be one of the worst.
And I
yeah,
actually didn't really
exactly.
think about it until you had mentioned that, but I think a lot of what I maybe think of is my nerve pain. That's because I get a lot of pain through my stomach and lower abdomen, and low back. Um, and a lot of it is directly related to gas and my bowel care because I can tell because when I do care and I do have different bloating and things. So I hadn't even thought about that as
Well, it's
a
also
factor.
non-traditional in that like it may not always be like extreme pain, and or just discomfort, extreme discomfort. Like I'm not necessarily hurting when I'm bloated, but I do not feel good. I feel sick. I feel lethargic. It's difficult to move. It's difficult to function, and that discomfort, is wrapped up right in that same, pocket of pain and stuff. We're all talking about just generally discomfort and managing that. That can be a bit tricky talking management person about because they'll want to send you to a GI doctor, and manage your diet, manage your what you're putting in your body and your tummy health and stuff. But hey, if that's what it takes, and I got urologist, I got a GI doctor, I got a ENT, I got a physiatrist, I got a family practice doctor. Like, get all of them if that's what you need, because we got a lot of issues, a lot of complex issues that you know kind of all need
Yeah,
feedback.
Yeah, for sure.
definitely.
And yeah, anything else you guys want to touch on or something that we maybe didn't
I
go
think
over?
we
Uh,
touched a lot of it. I think, definitely, as through the years, as we talked about, some of us getting into that rolling over the hill, um, it's, manage, your exercise properly, meaning stretch properly. Don't overuse your chair. Look at your transfers that you're doing. And not only your transfers, like let's say you're going in and out of your car, But also, if someone is pulling the wheelchair over their shoulder, that's going to be a lot on your shoulders, pulling all that weight in a tight spot. And I know a lot of paras just have the worst shoulder pains just because of that rotator tear cuffs and everything. So, look at your transfers, look at your wheelchair setup, look at your bed setup, and then start going down the avenue of other things. Look at finding something that distracts you, finding some exercise, and then going down to meditation, and then start getting into some of the other alternatives that we talked about, maybe grounding. And then if you have to go uh, and do a pain management doctor, look into it. Start slow. Don't start fast. And if you get the right one, they're not going to start you fast. They're going to experiment with you. They're really going to talk about what your pain is and get you on the right thing.
Don't get stubborn and think you got to deal with it by yourself, or be embarrassed or afraid to tell people about it or what you're dealing with, or use it as an excuse when it is a perfectly valid one. But just make sure you're talking to people, whether that's a mental health professional, a family member, close friend. um, you know um, I think we're all available too. At least I know I am. Particularly if you do want to reach out personally, more than happy to just talk, shoot the shit, about what I do to deal with it, you know, and just listen too. That's what it comes down to. Because sometimes just talking about this to someone who can listen and understand can be incredible benefit as well. Tommy, any last advice, general advice for quads or pairs out there, maybe finding themselves dealing with pain, not sure where to go, what to do?
I mean, talk to other people. Talk to other people that have
Yep.
spinal cord injury. That's the main thing I would think.
Yeah.
Get into some of the support groups and different things, and find out what the people with spinal cord injury are doing for the pain before just talking to just anybody. I think we all learn from each other, and I even learn from people that are been in a chair less time than I have, because sometimes they might have more access to something newer out there since they just got out of the hospital. So just talk to a lot of people and try to get involved, especially with Zoom. You can access support groups all over the country right now. So
Yeah,
that's the
go
big.
to Tommy. It's go to National Spinal Cord Association.com, and you can definitely find all the support groups in all the states. And most people are gonna, even if you're out of state, they'll let you join.
Yeah, the
Yeah,
Triumph
like even our Triumph
Foundation
virtual
here
ones,
in
you can join.
SoCal, any of them,
Yeah.
whatever one fits your schedule. They do one almost every day of the week. Um, so, I can't reiterate that enough. Just the act of talking to someone or others, can be so, like beneficial in, a positive way. It's been, one of my greatest uh, resources I've ever found. It's just my guys, my people, my community. And, I'm so thankful to been able to just be able to talk to them because, whew, can't tell you how many times I've been feeling bad and feel a whole lot better after spending just a few minutes talking with these guys. So yeah, great advice, Tommy. Shawn, anything else, my man?
No, I'll just do the quick shout out for we'll be back next Tuesday, doing live streams every
Every
Tuesday,
every
3:30.
Tuesday.
And then on Thursday coming up, Rihanna will be on with the women, the regular girls. We got the twins and Maya Jessica on. Uh, Not sure what the topic is this week, but check it out. I'm sure it'll be great, great. And then not this month because it's going to be Thanksgiving, but starting in December, we'll be going again with Rolling Over the Hill, Bobby and Robert. And we're going to have them having other guests and stuff. I'm sure Tommy and others will be some of the other veteran SCI guys we know will be,
You
and
can't
ladies.
count on much in this wild and crazy world, but you can count on Lift to Roll bringing you awesome, knowledgeable, good, positive, fun content every week. So make sure to subscribe
Oh,
and don't
Dad.
miss out on any of it.
Oh. Tell
And
your
real
dad I
quick
said
Um,
hi,
before,
Tommy.
I'll
what's
do
yeah,
that.
up,
He
Tom?
just stopped by. We're going to dinner right
Oh,
now.
nice.
awesome,
Awesome.
man. You
That's
guys, I hope you
amazing.
guys have a good dinner. Before you guys go,
Thank you.
Sarab asked if you're working on any new projects right now. Any paint projects? Are you just normal stuff, Tommy, or what?
Yeah, just the normal stuff right now, because hopefully that NFT project will still come to fruition. There's a possibility it'll be showing in Dubai in February, but I'll keep you all posted on that.
Ooh, all
Awesome.
right.
As the whole painting, the 20 foot by 400. So
Crazy.
That'd be
That's
amazing.
if
cool.
that happens, I'll let y'all know for sure.
So we wanted to talk to you at the very about that project, about that. But if you're going to Dubai, we got to talk to you about how you're getting there and back for sure.
Yeah, for sure.
All right,
All right.
man.
Well,
Thank
we'll
you
let
so
you
much,
get out of here.
Tommy.
Wrap it up because
Yeah.
you got to get to dinner and stuff. But thank you guys all for watching. We appreciate you guys. And see you next time. Don't forget
for
to
having
like,
me, guys.
subscribe, all that stuff.
Thanks, Tommy.
Of course, Tommy. Thanks for being
Right.
here. And thanks for watching, everybody. Let's roll.